Hi there, welcome back to the Swift programming course. Today you're going to be learning about classes. Now classes are very similar to structures in the sense that they are both types of templates for our programming code. They're both types of building blocks for our software. But the difference is that classes are unable to initialize themselves, and therefore we're able to customize the way that we get our class to run. And this is also why it's a little bit more complicated to deal with. So to create a class similar to a structure, we type in class and then we do the name followed by our parameters. So in this case I'm going to do the class person, and we're going to create a class for a person where we can set up their name, their age and their nickname, or an optional nickname as a string. And then what we're going to do is kind of create a video game character for them, and we're going to be able to compare which video game character is stronger than the other. But we don't have to do this because it's a little bit more advanced than just creating a class, but we'll see how it goes. So let's create our main variable, name, and that will be a type string. We're going to create our second variable, so variable age, and that will be a type integer. And then we're going to create our third variable, nickname, and that will be a type string, optional. And then we have to initialize our class, because our class cannot initialize itself exactly like a structure can, because it's a little bit more difficult, and they're kind of similar to each other, but they're different instances. So let's do our parameters. So name as a string, age as an int, and nickname as an optional string, and we need to set that to nil because we don't need that string, but we can have the string. So let's do our open curly brackets, and let's do self.name is equal to name. So we're saying that name of itself is equal to the name variable which we defined within the person. So self of name, so out of this initializer, it's a part of this. And then we need to do self.age is equal to self, and we're going self.age is equal to age, and self.nickname is equal to nickname. So now we have initialized correctly our name, our age, and our nickname variables. This is why a class and a structure is different, because a class cannot initialize itself like a structure can. So this is kind of our template code for setting up somebody's name, age, and possible nickname. But we've created these classes, but we've not used them yet. So let's create our first variable, and this will be person1, so it will be our first person. We need to reference to the person class which we created, similar to a function. We do parentheses, and we need to do a name which is a string. So if we just do we type in person parentheses, it'll bring up what we need to do automatically. So we need to do a string. So I'm going to do John, which will be our first person, and they're going to be age 26, and because a nickname is optional, we don't actually need to do it, so we can just close out that and the program won't have any problem with that. It says nil because it's an optional value and we haven't actually used it. But what if we did want to use it? So we're going to create a second person variable, and we're going to call person again, and this time we're going to give the person a name, so Fred, age 36, and we're going to give them a nickname of Freddy the Friar. So Freddy is going to be Fred is going to be a friar, so a religious person, a bit like a priest. So he's called Freddy the Friar. Okay, so our person has been created now, our person class, and we've actually created some people to demonstrate the class with. So this is a template that we can use multiple times for multiple people with different variables, and we can give them different names, ages, and nicknames. We don't even have to use nicknames, and we can create a template or start to create a template for things that we can work with in the real world, such as video games. So we can see here that we've done name John, age 26, with a nil value for the nickname string optional. And then we've done name Fred, age 36, with Freddy the Friar, which is an optional string, so it's done some. Okay, so now we're going to introduce the more advanced topic, which would be our game character from the video game that we're going to kind of simulate this. Because in real life you obviously have video games, and this is an example of a real world test where we can use this class. So let's create another class. This is going to be called Mutant, and it will be a subclass of person. So everything we do inside of this will be inherited from the person class. So we can use this information by default inside of the class Mutant. So let's create a variable called level, which will be an integer, so we can give a mutant a level inside of this game. And we can choose the variable superpower, so we can give them a superpower as a type string. And again, we need to initialize this, so we're going to initialize it, and as you can see, it's given us some things. So we're going to do name as a string, age in, nickname as an optional string, but we need to add in the things that we haven't already. So superpower as a string, and then we need to do the level as an integer. Okay, and then we need to do our code inside of here. So we need to set up our initialization values again. So self.level is equal to level, and self.superpower is equal to superpower. And then we need to do another line of code that we didn't do before. We need to initialize our super, which will allow us to do the name, the age, and the nickname values. So we need to set these name to name, age to age, and nickname to nickname. So this will initialize itself from the class mutant to the class person to the initialization values within that class person. Okay, and like I said before, we're going to now create our checker to see which mutant is more powerful than our other. So we're going to have to create a function, and we're going to call this function is more powerful. We're going to do mutant is equal to mutant, and then we're going to return that as a boolean. So we need to return a value. So return, and then we're going to return the level that is greater than the current mutant level. So we're saying we're asking if the level is greater than the current mutant level, and then if it is, it will return true or return false. Okay, so this checks which mutant of a person class is a higher level mutant than another mutant. So let's set up our people variables now, so we can actually use this to do something. So we're going to create a variable called Jake, which will be one of our mutants, and then we're going to set up some values. So the name will be Jake, we know that already. The age will be 23, the nickname we're going to do Jake the Flight Man. Okay, we're going to give him a superpower of flight, which is a string, and a level of 7. Okay, and then we're going to create another line. We can just copy this to edit the settings and create a new line. We're going to call this mutant Lucy, and let's just change the values. So the age will be 32, which is a little bit greater. We're going to give this person a different nickname. So Lucy the Telepathic Human. The superpower obviously will be telepathy, and their level will be 8, which is obviously greater than the previous one, which we know, but we can now actually check if this mutant's power is greater. So let's expand this window a little bit just so we can see our stuff. So now let's check which mutant is more powerful. So we're going to do Lucy.is more powerful than the mutant Jake. So we're going to check if that is true. So it returns true. Lucy is more powerful than Jake, as we can see. But what if we wanted to do Jake is more powerful than Lucy? Would that be true, or would that be false? It says false, as you can see. So this has returned a boolean value of true, and then a boolean value of false to give us our answer to our if statement, if you will. So using this, we were able to create a person class and give them a name, an age, and a nickname, which is a potential string. It doesn't have to be there. It can be nil if possible. And we've been able to give a person a name and an age and a nickname, And then we've been able to create a second class called mutant, which is inheriting the values of person, so name, age, nickname, level, and superpower. And then we've been able to initialize that, and we've been able to give a person a level and a superpower and a nickname, which is really cool. And then we were able to check, so return a Boolean value using the functions which we've already covered in this series, in this programming course, sorry. You know, we can do the functions to return a Boolean value of whether a certain person is a greater level than another person, and we can do really cool things with classes and functions when we put them together. You know, despite the fact that we have to initialize it ourselves, it is very similar to a structure, and it can do similar things to a structure, but it isn't a structure. If you didn't understand this, I suggest you keep practicing, keep watching this programming course episode over and over again. It is quite a difficult concept. It took me ages to get it into my head and grasp the concept. I've remembered this code purely off of my head. Keep on trying if you don't get it straight away. It is quite complicated, and you don't have to understand it right now, because we'll cover it again in the future. And that was classes in Swift.